Welcome to the Global Discussion, discussions with creatives, leaders, and thinkers. My name is Simon Hodgkins. A real pleasure and a delight to be joined by Josh Golden today. Josh, you're very welcome to the show. Let's begin by asking you, maybe introduce yourself, tell a little bit about your background and what you're involved in today to our worldwide audience. So over to you, Josh.
Of course, Simon. Thank you so much for having me. First of all, I'm so thrilled to have a chance to chat with you. I've listened to a few of your episodes, and they are in fact fascinating. So if you haven't listened to all of them, I will tell you it is worth the listen for sure. My history, Simon, I come to you as a I'm gonna say marketing human. I enjoy that. I enjoy the process of puzzle solving, and I've particularly my wife jokes with me about my being the Marco Polo of industry travelers. I like to do different things. I started off my life in film and TV. My first big job was at Paramount. I was the head PA for the John Tesh and Leeza Gibbons show. So that was Entertainment Tonight was a thing at a point. Went into consulting. I worked, believe it or not, on the OJ Simpson trial. So it's a nice little footnote that I was working for Marcia Clark for about 18 months doing all the graphic exhibits that were used for the trial. I quickly left that space and moved into the I got my degree and another an MBA, because everyone always looked at me as the film guy. Who's the film guy coming up with all the ideas? And then I went on to the agency side at Y&R, all the agencies that no longer exist. Y&R, Gray, Havas still exists actually. And then I went into the brand roles, and I did work at Xerox and NBC Universal. I was the head of digital for NBC Universal, and basically always responsible for helping the company evolve. At that point, of course, digital was the thing that needed to be happening, and I was the person who drove the digital evolution and drove the launch of Hulu, for example. And then I went to bigger brand roles at larger public companies, Xerox, and then I was the head of I ran Ad Age for a while, which was a wonderful role to be really at the center of the marketing ecosystem. And now, most recently, I've joined Quad, which is a large marketing services company out of the Midwest that is in service to about 2,700 marketers, all trying to get something done in the marketing ecosystem, whether it's direct mail or magazines or digital or creative or production. We have a tremendous quantity of assets and an enormous data set that allows us to understand and really connect with audiences at the household level or where they are in the in-store level. And it's created a wonderful company to be a part of, which I was just talking to the CEO just a moment ago, Joel Quadracci, us Quad, and I was saying, because we had just had this wonderful town hall, and I was saying how, in fact, I felt being a part of this company, because it feels like a wonderful culture. And when you have a culture that is just so, you feel it, like as you walk around in the office, and I am today, I'm in our New York office, I feel the excitement about the evolution of what Quad is doing and creating. And it's just so fun to be at a big company. It's 53 years old, $3 billion public company, but it is on an evolution versus let's keep doing what we've been doing. It's like, yeah, let's keep doing what we've been doing, but let's add these other things on. And I got to tell you, it's super exciting today, particularly. So you got me on a good day.
Well, I mean, wow, incredible. What a story. We've had trials, we've had TV,
Yeah.
we've had content. I know president and publisher of Ad Age. Everybody knows that. You mentioned some of the agencies that you worked on in the past, big names in their day,
Yeah.
and some of them still going strong. And tell me, as a CMO, as a chief marketing officer, as a senior executive in Quad, what
Mhm.
does that look like for, just help our
Yeah.
people
I
watching and
mean,
people listening to our
it's,
show? Help us understand what that job's like, because it sounds
yeah, well,
fascinating.
I can tell you that it is kind of fascinating, only because the company I was just describing to someone. There's a company called the Quad Paddywhacker, which is basically when you join a matrix company, there's so many different, like, okay, so what do you do? How does that work exactly? So my job when I've switched industries, as I tend to do, is to do my best listening ear as possible, like really, really understand what is it that you do. And when you start to see how all the puzzle pieces are out on the countertop, you're like, oh, these two things kind of fit together. Do you see how they? And many times people who are lived in this siloed universe haven't had to see the where they overlap. And the CMO, my job, literally my job is to help everyone appreciate and consume what it is that Quad does. So the job of the CMO in my mind, and for a company like Quad, which is a very large, well-known in history, the history they had, of course, is in manufacturing and printing. It was Quad Graphics, about 6 years ago, or maybe I think we shifted. Yeah, about 6 years ago we shifted, and we lost the graphics part because it's really became so many other things that we do. But for, at the beginning of its life, it was a manufacturing, magazines and catalogs, et cetera. And then they've added other things that are reflective of all the needs that a marketer is needing. In service to the marketer. So my role as the CMO is to come in and understand all those different things, figure out how they fit together, create a design system, a brand and a design system that makes it feel unified, and then tell that story on wonderful podcasts like this, to give me the opportunity to say, like, you know what, if you think you might know this brand because you think of our history, but you actually have to give it a second look and give the clients and the marketers a reason to give it a second look, because it is so different than what it has been in its past, and it's on this wonderful trajectory. And my job, I guess, is a little bit of the chief enthusiasm officer, to really help everyone start to appreciate the breadth and the scale that we have at our fingertips.
Well, I particularly like the way that the company is positioned now, because you have obviously all this great heritage and credibility, but the company often talks about being a marketing solutions company. So, it's not about, as you say, the print of maybe old and some of the history. And that second look this is about a wraparound solution for your clients, I'm assuming. And I particularly like how you talk about that sort of marketing experience leading to a better or a perfect customer experience, because in today's busy digital content environment, enter AI, content is everywhere. We're all awash with it, but getting that marketing experience right, which feeds into that customer experience, I think is one of the key differences with the cut through that you need to actually resonate with your customers these days. And I'm assuming that's what your brands love about working with you.
I hope so. I hope that's the case. I don't get as much client interaction as I would prefer, but I will tell you that the message is resonating. Specifically what you said, Simon. I know when I was at Ad Age, I was endlessly thinking about, what does the reader want? What do they want to have at their fingertips? And then, of course, I was responsible for, what are the packages we need to sell to our advertisers, and how does the content improve? Of course, I wasn't responsible for editorial; they work for me, but I made certain we kept a sort of an ethical wall always between us. But I will tell you that my job as inside of this, inside of Quad, is we recognized how much pain the marketer is suffering with, endlessly trying to deliver. They got, like 7 years ago, they added, figure out your blog strategy. And then 3 years ago, it was like, okay, now you're the email guy. And then, a year and a half ago, it's like, okay, now you handle AI too. So you have all these different women and men trying to figure out how to solve the problems that are just incrementally added on one after the other. You look at my friend, I make fun of my CFO, not make fun of him, I make light of, his job. His is fabulous because every year he has to do a 10K. Every quarter they have quarterly earnings. Not easy to do any of these things, but it is the same thing that you have to do every year. Of course, you want to have improvement and growth, right? The CMO's role is endlessly changing. So when I started to look at Quad and what we do and how we solve problems for marketers, I was saying, like, they're endlessly focused on that CX piece, delivering the best possible avenue for them to engage with their product, right? My question was, well, who's helping the marketer here? Who is helping the marketer's experience improve? And I said, it's funny, all the pieces that we put together are actually a perfect toolkit to help the marketer's job be easier. So we deliver the best MX we possibly can. And I believe that it's a framing that I've been working on. But the truth is, and we are a marketing services company, so that's really what we do. But we do it in a way that should make the marketer feel like their job has become less frictionless, or become as frictionless as possible, and that we're solving as many problems as they'll enable us to do. And we really do have a full through the line offering. But many clients come to us using our MX suite of solutions, there's specific and definitive. We have an MX production suite, we have an MX media offering, we have an MX creative offering, we have an MX intelligence offering, an MX tech offering, all of which are embedded into that marketing experience framing. And they come in with like, hey, can you start with my direct mail? And we're like, absolutely, we'll start with the direct mail, and slowly it evolves. We add on our AI components, we add on our ability to variably print something, just like, digitally could do. We've enabled so many different technological advancements that I believe the marketer's job, it is hard. And if someone like Quad is here to help you, then why wouldn't you take advantage of it? And it's just so fun to be, not only that, to be at a company that's solving the problems of marketers, but does it with human beings that actually enjoy being with one another. I can tell you, not every job I've had in my life has not always felt that way, but these people, because of the Midwestern style, if you will, I'm a New Yorker, so I can't totally, I feel like I'm trying to get it, but like, it is different, and it is nice, and it is just fun, and I feel like I'm a part of a family that I'm like, oh, I'm part of the team, and it's just a fabulous feeling.
I love that. I love what you're saying, and I'm sure many people listening or watching to this episode, when you land in somewhere where the culture fits, it's a wonderful feeling, because given your background and your expertise, I'm sure there've been many cultures over the years that you've had to adapt to, change,
Yeah.
and everything in between. And it is interesting because when I was looking at what Quad are doing today, I think I'm right in saying that you're closing down on supporting 3,000 brands, and these aren't small brands; these are
Oh no, they're massive.
significant
Yeah,
players. Yeah, which is it's huge in terms of the organizations that you're working with. And I know you do various things with each individual brand. I'm sure
of
everything
course.
is almost bespoke at this stage. But the question I'm coming to is, from your vantage point, do you find that chief marketing officers are under more pressure today than they were a few short years ago because of that technology stack change, because of the demand for performance marketing, generating the leads, generating the revenue, but also then trying to take time to invest in brand and think about the medium and longer term strategies? Because there's sort of that operational, we've got to get it out the door, we've got to drive the business. And then there's the sort of the important stuff that maybe isn't as urgent. So just very interested in your vantage point working in the organization that you do. Where do you think CMOs are today? Is it hectic at the moment? Is it
Yeah,
really
I mean,
challenging?
I would like to say that I think that the world of the CMO is, well, I think that it certainly invites a certain personality type, if you will. When you think about the COO and the CEO and the CFO, they are of a certain type of, they're much more consistent, much more, there's an efficiency focus. Not that there isn't with the CMO, but the chief revenue officer and the CMO tend to be a little more extroverted. They tend to be different. And so there's a personality style that's looking for change and engagement and opportunity and a little bit of tumult, in fairness. I will tell you that it's become a fever pitch in the last couple of years. Post-pandemic or during the pandemic, it got very, very difficult to continue. Like, we had to change tonight, because tomorrow everyone's working from home and we have to figure out a whole plan. We have to change it tomorrow. So I will tell you that the world that the marketer faces is endlessly focused on that part of the world that is focused on change. So it's certainly not getting easier, but I believe, I'm going to stretch here. I believe we've gotten a little bit used to the marathon. I'm not a tremendously great runner, but I will tell you, at about like 3/4 of a mile, when I start running, I'm like, I hate this. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? This is horrible. Why am I doing this? And then at like 3/4 of a mile, I've clocked it a couple of times. It's about 0.72 of a mile. My body decides, like, actually, this doesn't feel horrible anymore. And then I can run for a long time. And so there's this beginning part of new marketers getting in this sort of understanding of, like, it's hard at the beginning, but once you sort of get the rhythm of what to expect, and that Friday 4 o'clock call, you got to expect it. You got to wait for it and know what's going to happen. And if you're waiting for it and it doesn't happen, it's like, woo, weekend. But if you already prepared for it, then it makes your job a lot easier. I believe the marketer's job has become more complex and more intricate and technologically driven. And I'm taking classes, literally taking classes on prompt engineering because I want to be better at prompt engineering. Why would anybody avoid that? Looking at all the different tools that are now at our fingertips, there's a lot of different inputs, and you get to choose as the marketer. I want to try this, and this, and see how it works. And I think that those types of insights are what marketers need to both accept but also expect. This is not like you wanted to just, go out there and drive a car, which is a hard job, I'm sure, as well. But I would tell you that the marketer's job is endlessly shifting. So it's endlessly becoming a more and more complex thing that is, frankly, part of the deal. So if you don't want to do it, you don't get out of the kitchen if it's too hot, kind of thing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think the adaptability that you need today, I think, is, what you're explaining there. And I couldn't agree more, because it's changing so quickly, but you also have to be able to adapt or pivot or whatever word
Right.
you want to use, because the clients have different requirements than they did last year, than they did 6 months ago, than they did
Right.
6 days ago. But also you're trying to keep one eye on the future. And as you say, whether it's becoming a prompt engineering expert or figuring out how this AI fits into a lot more of the workflows, a lot of companies are really knee deep in this at the moment. And the other thing I think that you said as well is, in terms of this sort of excitement, almost the chief evangelist in the company, you've kind of got to be the person that can also generate that enthusiasm. And as you're saying, there's maybe sometimes a difference between, say, the CFO and the CEO and the CMO,
Mhm.
because the CMO as well has to sort of chart that new course, don't they, and set sail for that new promised land sometimes,
I
which
totally
is
do.
which is challenging, and particularly in a public company.
It is. It's hard. It's funny. I tell this story when I first started. I was like, I'm in a speedboat and I'm going to have a rope tied to the quad boat. And I'm going to go out there and figure out what the plan is. And I'll go out there. And I was like, and I get somewhere and I turn around. I'm like, where is everybody? I thought they were with me. And it turned out, of course, my speedboat was way out in front of where quad was even willing to go. So I had to change boats and go into a tugboat, which was just going to nudge the front end of the battleship. And that is a much more powerful way to move a massive brand that is well known in a space but needs to evolve. So I think that the evangelism piece of this, you cannot undersell. You have to be able to listen long enough and recognize potential paths that are all possible. There's infinite possibilities in the beginning, and you are eliminating, like, not that one, not that one, not that one, because they don't fit. And the puzzle solving part of my brain really gets into, like, this is a really interesting moment right now in this brand, in the marketing world, right? So there's all these large holding companies and consultancies. And the interesting part about Quad that makes us so very different is the heritage that we come from, manufacturing at scale, right? You don't get your neighbor's mail. I mean, you may sometimes, that's maybe, but mostly you get the mail that was meant for you. And Quad sends in the U.S. Approximately 10% of the country's mail. We have access to about 280 million households' information about what data points, what magazines, what catalogs, what do you receive. Think about the quality and the depth of our data about the passions that we know as at your household level is interested in. That is an unmatched thing in the marketing space, and it creates us with the death of the cookie, a deprecation option. Like, oh, I can go to Quad to get the data on the audience that would be most interesting for me to communicate with. That story, which I just outlined for you, is an evangelism piece of my job, right? Where I get to figure out, like, look at all the pieces, figure out what we really have, what makes us special, and then make that the accent versus the understood, And I think that piece is, or what marketers really could be focusing on, is what makes your company special, what makes it different, what makes it unique, and then figure out a magical way to loop that all together into one unique package that a marketer or a consumer or whatever it is can receive and realize quickly the benefit for them. And that's been my joy to do for some terrific brands in my life. But I will tell you, Quad has been the hardest because it's got such steeped history that you can't change it too much. You can bend it, but you can't break it. And I think that's the delicate balance of making certain that everyone appreciates the subtlety of, you come in and you're a big bull in a china shop, you will not stick around because it won't work. And I think that's the kind of the little bit of you have to heed that warning and make sure you understand it when you're going into a job like this, for example.
Oh, I think it's an excellent point. And look, you've over 3 decades of experience in this area, in the
It's
marketing
long for me.
area.
I got to tell you, Simon, it's a little, I can't believe it. I used to say 2 decades very comfortably. I'm like, wait. How old am I?
And you've won many awards, and you've worked with some of the biggest brands and companies and agency side and client side, right? But if we were looking at today's market, and we had a room full of CMOs today, is there any sort of, on top of what you've been saying there, is there any sort of obvious advice that you think a CMO needs to heed in today's environment? Thinking about this year going into next year, because we still seem to be going through an awful lot of change, whether it's technology or tools, or
Mm.
whether it's reaching consumers. There's a lot of noise out there, and I'm just wondering, if we had that room full of CMOs, what sort of messages would you be sharing with them?
My father was prolific with his wisdom, and he shared this with me when I was younger, and I didn't fully grasp it until, I'm going to say, around this job. So it took me a while. Anyway, so he's in my ear all the time, even though he's not with me anymore. He's still whispering this thought to me, which is, you can work anywhere and be successful. That is probably true, or maybe mostly true. But to work at a place that you enjoy, with people that you really, really dig, it is the game changer. It makes any job is, I say this constantly. My job is to be a great dad, and that is hard. I want to be a great dad, like amazing dad, like, oh my God, like award-winning dad. What I do with Quad and have done in previous jobs, that I do for fun. And if I'm not having fun and I'm feeling tortured every day, that's just not what you want to do. As if all these CMOs are in the room and I'm saying, like, what's the one piece of advice? I'm like, you got to enjoy what you're doing. But the best way to enjoy what you're doing is to do it with people that you really genuinely enjoy. And I've had the benefit of pulling some people along with me for 2 or 3 different jobs. Like, hey, I know why we did this thing at NBC. It was great. You want to, I think you'd be great for this. And I pull those people who are the gems that are like, you're smarter than me on this. Would you mind, coming and thinking about this with me? And they're wonderfully cognitively diverse in how they approach it. And they're so mean to me, but they do help solve the problem of, like, make this the best it can be. So the best part about that is these are all people I genuinely enjoy. And I find that if you're doing hard work with people that you really enjoy, it's not really work, it's kind of fun. And if you can endlessly be having fun, even while you're arguing about something you feel passionately about, like the bullet color should be this framing is not right, but you're arguing because you know the objective, you all agree, the objective is to make it as good as it can be in the time that you have. And that is my, like, big message. Like, I dig the people I work with, from my boss all the way down to everyone else who I surround myself with, and I make certain that I am in the weeds when we're doing the bringing the people on. I'm making certain, like, could you be an incremental asset to this company by being a different thinker? I find different thinkers allow me to be like, oh, I wasn't thinking about it that way. That's fascinating. Let's try that. And that is my big message to people who ask me, what's the best part about your job? It's the people part of the job. That's what I love the most. And I'm a perpetual texter. Like, I text with everybody, and I have like 300 or 400 people that I do endlessly communicate with, and they're my group of advisors. Like, hey, I'm working on this thing. What do you think about this? And they are all fully transparent with me about, hey, that's horrible. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought it was good. But I will tell you that my sort of close group of people that I work with, as well as my sort of group of that's sort of concentric circle outside of that, makes this job so much more fun, because I have everyone on the team feeling like rooting for the success of the brand and my efforts. So I feel like that's been the thing that's made me feel so much more successful, because I have the people that are helping me that are really, together in the foxhole.
I love that, Josh. And I'm not just saying that. I love that because it's very easy to get carried away in the technical side of what we're involved in.
Yeah.
But you're bringing it back down. Look, it's the people. Are you having fun? Do
Yeah.
you enjoy what you're doing? And I really love that, because they're all human traits, right? And you're bringing in the expertise that you need. And maybe there's some different thinking there that's maybe probing and challenging, but you're all agreed on that direction ultimately. So everybody's, to use a phrase, rowing in the same direction, if you like. But
That's it.
I love what you're saying, because it's very human characteristics. And it's so refreshing to hear that at your level, because there's so much noise about the technology, but you're really championing the human, the fun, the expertise, bringing in the people that can help you achieve that goal.
I do wonder, Simon, whether, at a company, that isn't Quad, that thought would be accepted. But when I was interviewing, for this role, I was watching very closely at the companies that didn't feel like I could be me there. And, I'll leave the companies out of it that didn't make the cut. But when I walked into some, I was like, I don't think I'm right here, and you really feel it. It's you have to trust that, that like, no, maybe I'm not right. I know that you go into an interview and you're like, I hope I get it. But like at the same time, you've got to ask yourself, is this right? Am I going to be able to be me here? And I really think that a company like this, and I'm so happy to be here, allows me to be as much me that they can handle. I do tone it down a bit, I believe, but I think that I think it's really wonderful to have a platform and a playing field where someone's saying, bring your A game, because you're going to be up against all the other A game players here. And when you feel that kind of like, wow, I'm part of the A team here, and we're making a company like this move forward, it feels fabulous. And it's business fabulous. So it's not like, getting married or having a child. It's different, right? But like, this is a great, and you caught me on a really great day. We launched our new, creative offering to the world. We have, it's called Betty, which is named after Joel's, the CEO's mother. Harry Quadracci was the founder, and his wife, Betty, was the creative core of Quad. And today we rolled up all the different creative agencies into Betty, and we just launched it today. And it's fabulous to have that feeling. But then we also have we bought this wonderful company out of North Carolina called Dart, and we rolled out our In-Store Connect offering, and it allows for digital displays beyond the print displays that we're already doing for brands, but allows for digital displays. So it becomes an ad placement solution. So we're creating all these areas of media that exist that allow for a marketer's job. Can you do all the things? And we're just about ready to do that. So I will tell you, you caught me on a terrific day, and it's a really exciting moment for the brand. I feel like, it's going back to the running metaphor, like when you're running that last, in your 10K, and you're in that last kilometer, and you see the corner that is like, oh, that's just 3/4 of a kilometer to go, or a mile, whatever it is. And you're like, if I can make it to that corner, I can make it to the end. And I feel like I'm just about seeing the turning of the flywheel, and starting to spin and starting to move, and the momentum it can gain. And I feel today like a real palpable, like, oh no, this is going to start to roll. And it's a wonderful moment that I happen to just be here with you on this day, where I can remember and look back at, like, to see that moment. That's when I actually really truly felt it.
I love it. And from what I hear, Betty is quite tenacious.
It is.
And I think bettyagency.com is something that everybody should rush over to
and check out. Yeah.
Because it's kind of that that rolling up of all that expertise, being able to provide that 24/7 global production
Right.
and all the creative quality that goes with that. So congratulations on launching
Thank
that
you.
today. It
Yeah, it
truly
was
is
great.
amazing to
Very
see.
excited about
Yeah.
that. And the enormity that it presents. We have our media offering with Rise and the Betty, our creative offering, and obviously Quad is the sort of the modern, holding company that has all these pieces in it together, that has the manufacturing in it as part of it. It creates such an enormous, interesting, compelling offer that I think is fascinating to think about. Can we help solve the problems for marketers, but do it in a way that makes you feel like, no, this feels good to work with these people. I like that. And having that be something I can actually comfortably say, where maybe in the past I may have been stretching, it makes me feel super proud that that's actually a really true statement.
Well, look, I think anybody watching or listening to our discussion today, it's obvious that you're in the right place and you're enjoying it. So it's a great day to be talking. But before we run out of time,
Yes,
Josh,
sir.
I want to squeeze in two quick questions. The first one is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to leave as a parting thought? Or it might be something we have touched on that you want to maybe expand on a little bit. And secondly, and really importantly, if people want to connect with you, with Quad, with Betty Agency, where's the best place to point people to today?
Yeah. I mean, boy, okay. I'm gonna answer the second part first, if that's okay, because I'll forget it. So I'm a pretty prolific talker on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me, I actually take a lot of here's my deal. I take one vendor meeting a week. I promise myself to always do one per week because I just like to hear what's out there, and it has to be a well written note. So there's just you got to if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you're doing it. But one brand gets the benefit. So LinkedIn for me, and that's I think I'm just Joshua Golden, I think it's, or Josh Golden, I think is what name. And then for Quad, obviously I can do the direct pieces for you there as well. But there's like loads of opportunities at quad.com for you to get some stuff done. And then gosh, I get this question. I get a question like this a lot from young people. I teach a class at NYU and Columbia like once a quarter, and I there was a post that I did recently, which I just want to highlight. It kind of went like virally a little bit. Like I was surprised with it a little bit how it went, and I did a post about. It was simple. It's a handwritten note because I was just writing it down for myself to remind me to tell people, and I wrote I said send the thank you note. It matters. And I think that the point of that note or the post was, there is a part of this world in which we live in that gratitude is, unfortunately, in the younger generations, not really. I don't think they fully get it. That you have to it's an apprentice-like world in marketing in particular. You have to learn from other people. So if you do not show that sense of humility and gratitude, it's I don't know. I have an allergy. Like, I will not hire someone who does not send me a follow-up note. I cannot, because I'm like, well, you didn't seem to think about doing something. And even the one sentence is like, oh, no, that counts. But at least it's something. But I will tell you that it's critical. If you want to get into the job of being a marketer, you have to market yourself. And the best way to market yourself is to express both humility and gratitude. And that is because you're showing that you can learn from other people. And so my message, my little extra thought, which it was provocative. You got me on a good day, but I feel like this thought is really, really important. I do not believe that people climb up hills on their own. You always are doing it with a team, your family or your people or whoever it is that you're with. And to suggest that it's more I than we is a really, really bad way of thinking about the world. It's all we. We are all one. We are all one country. We're all one Earth. And it's much better to approach things as a we. And I believe that this particular point that in the post sort of motivated this thought is, if we can help people start to feel more we and that collaborative nature and what's driven by humility and appreciation, it can start to actually create a wonderful a snowball effect that can help everyone be more appreciative of one another. So I am hopeful that little piece of wisdom that I put out there is actually going to have an impact, and it's going to change people's minds on thinking about what they say as they're engaging with other people that think differently. And because it's a gift if you can listen to it. And I really, really try to listen.
I was going to say the thank you note, such a simple thing, but such a meaningful thing, and hardly done by anybody. And I think, as you quite rightly said, when you put that out there, we're all human. We appreciate being appreciated.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple, quick thing to do. And it makes such a difference. And you know what? I think it builds real connection. So thank you
I
for
hope
sharing
so.
that, Josh. Yeah.
I hope so.
Look, I think that brings us nicely to the end of our time together today. It's been wonderful to have you on the show. I want to
I
thank
love this,
everybody
Simon. This was great.
It's been a great day to get you to, of course. And I want to thank everybody who's watching or listening to this episode. And I also want to invite people to join me back here for some more discussions with creatives and leaders and thinkers just like Josh. But Josh, thank you for your time today on such a busy day for you. Really appreciate you being on the show. Thank you.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you for having me. It was a true, true honor.